It was on a late autumn afternoon when the fog of London lay thick and heavy upon Baker Street, curling about the lamps like a grey shroud. Holmes and I had been engaged for several days in no particular matter, save for his peculiar experiments involving a barometer, a slice of bread, and, for reasons known only to him, a violin bow. I had grown used to the rhythm of our lives together, his flashes of brilliance alternating with lone silences of contemplation, the warmth of our sitting room, the fire crackling, and our tea untouched, framed those moments perfectly.
Watson, said he suddenly, raising his keen eyes from the newspaper, do you perceive that the entire British Navy has been made to look rather foolish in the last 24 hours?
Foolish Holmes, I cannot say that I've observed any such thing. What is the matter now?
Ah, you did not notice the tiny column beneath the shipping news? A single line, my dear fellow. Unidentified yacht missing in the English Channel, last sighted near Dover. That single sentence, I assure you, may hold more significance than the whole of Parliament's debates.
You mean to tell me, Holmes, that a missing yacht is enough to disturb your peace of mind?
Peace of mind, Watson, is a luxury only the dull possess. Instead, when a vessel vanishes within sight of our own coast, it raises questions not of tide or wind, but of human intention. And when such intention is wrapped in silence, it becomes a mystery worthy of my attention.
Holmes folded the newspaper with that precise gesture of his, as though even paper should submit to logic. And what of your experiments, Holmes? Said I, gesturing to the strange assembly of items upon the table.
Abandoned, my dear Watson, mere trifles. But this yacht, the Argus, seems to have carried aboard not only cargo, but a passenger of some consequence. The name withheld naturally. Yet I deduce,
Holmes, you cannot deduce from a single line of print.
on the contrary, I deduce precisely because others would not. Observe the Argus, a name chosen for a vessel of observation, yet it disappears without report. The last sighting. Dover, a port dense with customs inspection. The fact that no inspector has been quoted implies secrecy sanctioned from above. Therefore, either a diplomatic or military matter lies beneath the surface.
I smiled despite myself. Your reasoning is as swift as it is confounding. And what do you propose we do? Sail after the yacht ourselves?
Nothing so melodramatic. We shall await a visitor. The faintest ripple upon the surface of official England invariably finds its way to Baker Street. Ah, but listen.
At that very instant, there came a knock at the door, sharp, deliberate, and in a rhythm I could almost swear Holmes recognized.
That, Watson, will be the ripple.
Mrs. Hudson entered, announcing a gentleman who would not give his name but who, by his manner, carried authority enough to excuse the omission.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes, said the visitor upon entering, I am commanded by the Admiralty to consult you with the utmost discretion.
Then you are fortunate, sir, for discretion is the air I breathe. Pray, be seated. Watson, the brandy.
The visitor was a tall, stern man of navel-bearing bronze skin, a face weathered by command, asked, and eyes like gunmetal.
My name is Sterling, Captain Elias Sterling. The matter concerns the Argus, a yacht chartered under civilian guise but entrusted with sensitive cargo.
And that cargo, Captain?
A sealed dispatch intended for the French Admiralty. The Argus was to cross the Channel under diplomatic immunity, yet she never reached Calais. The sea gave no wreckage and no signal was received.
A dispatch lost between England and France, I mused. Surely that could cause quite the embarrassment.
Embarrassment, Dr. Watson, would be the least of it. The document concerned new cooperative measures between our fleets, measures which, if discovered by foreign powers hostile to either crown, could shift the balance of Europe.
Then we are dealing not merely with a disappearance, but with espionage upon the high seas.
Exactly. And the Admiralty, reluctant to draw public attention, requests your assistance. You are to travel to Dover, inspect what little evidence remains, and, if possible, trace the missing vessel or her crew.
And the crew consisted of?
5 men, all British, The captain, a certain Mr. Holland known for his discretion. One passenger listed, Mr. Gray, nationality undisclosed.
Holmes's eyes gleamed. A Mr. Grey upon a vessel called Argus, he murmured. My dear Watson, the gods of irony have not lost their craft.
You will have authority to question local officials and to access the harbour master's logs. But, Mr. Holmes, time is not our ally.
Time rarely is, Captain. Its strength. Yet I promise you this, before the next tide turns, I shall stand upon the docks of Dover. And if the Argus has indeed vanished, I will know how. And why?
The captain took his leave as abruptly as he had entered. You owe! Holmes turned to me, his face alive with that peculiar light which I had come to recognize as the herald of a great case.
Watson, pack your medical bag and a stout overcoat. We depart for Dover within the hour.
I trust you have a plan beyond mere inspection?
Plans are for generals, my dear fellow. I prefer hypotheses.
And yet, you always make them appear as certainties.
That, Watson, is merely good theatre.
Reach of the evening drain, the fog thickening as we left London behind. Now, Holmes sat opposite me, his long fingers steepled, his gaze fixed upon the darkness beyond the window. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels seemed to echo his thoughts. Holmes, I ventured, do you believe this disappearance to be an act of foreign agents?
Possibly. But I would first consider something more subtle. When a ship disappears without a trace, there are only three explanations: accident, deceit, or illusion. The first can be ruled out if no wreckage appears. The second, deceit, demands human craft. The third, illusion, demands human genius. We shall see which applies.
You speak as though the Argus may never have vanished at all.
Precisely.
Dover greeted us with wind and sea spray, the air sharp with salt and the scent of coal smoke. Hurry, the lamps along the harbour swayed in the mist. We lodged at a small inn overlooking the channel, where the proprietor, upon learning our purpose, grew suddenly cautious.
Hi, said the Argus. We've heard much talk of her. She set out 3 nights ago. Some say she passed the outer pier, others that she turned back. But I swear no one saw her after the fog rolled in.
Board the day. And the crew, did any return to shore?
Not a one, sir. Only an empty dinghy found the next morning drifting near the breakwater.
A dinghy? Was anything within it?
Only a rope cut clean through, and a brass compass. Odd thing, that. The needle pointed north by west even when turned.
Holmes's eyes narrowed. A magnetized deviation, he murmured. That compass, my good man. Where is it now?
With the harbour master, sir. Oh, he's none too keen on visitors.
We shall see about that, Holmes said, his voice cold as the sea air. As we walked toward the harbour, I could not shake the feeling that we were being observed. Somewhere amidst the fog and the moaning of the ship's horns, a figure moved, then vanished as if swallowed by the night. Holmes, I whispered, did you see that?
Indeed I did. And unless my eyes deceive me, we are not the only men searching for the Argus.
Thus began our descent into one of the strangest and most perilous of all our adventures, the mystery that lay beneath the grey waters of the English Channel. The morning that followed was one of grey skies and restless sea. Dover's harbour lay before us like a stage set for some mournful drama, the gulls circling above in uneasy cries. Holmes had slept but a few hours, his mind ever active, pacing our small room till dawn. When at last we took our breakfast, he hardly touched his tea, preferring instead to examine a map of the channel spread before him.
Watson, said he, tapping the map with his long forefinger, observe these coastal bearings. The Argus was last seen heading due southeast, yet the current that night would have carried her northeast toward the Goodwin Sands. Had she been taken unawares, some fragment must surely have washed ashore. The absence of debris, therefore, speaks not of tragedy, but of premeditation.
You believe she was deliberately made to disappear?
More precisely, that her disappearance was arranged to seem inevitable.
But to what end?
My dear fellow, that is the puzzle before us. The purpose of a vanishing is often to conceal what remains.
Holmes folded the map with care and gestured for me to follow. We made our way through the harbour's bustle, sailors shouting, ropes creaking, the wind thick with salt and coal dust. The office of the harbour master stood near the quay, a squat brick building smelling faintly of rum and seaweed.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Judd, Watson, said the man behind the desk, a ruddy faced fellow with a captain's cap and suspicious eyes. I was told you'd be calling. The Navy sent word ahead.
Then you know why we are here, Mr. Corbett. We wish to inspect any remains of the Argus and to question any who might have sighted her last.
There's little to show, sir. Only the dinghy that came ashore, and that compass which I still keep in my drawer.
Corbett produced the object, a small brass instrument dulled by sea air. Holmes examined it intently, turning it between his fingers.
The compass card is fixed by a concealed pin. Someone wished the needle to point perpetually northwest. Ingenious, though clumsy. Tell me, Mr. Corbett, who first found it.
One of the fishermen, old Grier, lives near the pierhead. Said he pulled it from the dinghy before the tide took it.
Then Mr. Grier shall have the pleasure of our company. One other question. Did any vessel depart Dover that night without record?
Not to my knowledge. But there was one odd thing. A French cutter moored outside the main harbour, name of Etoile du Nord. She sailed before dawn.
A French vessel, Holmes mused, with a name that means Star of the North. Curious, is it not, that the compass in the dinghy pointed northwest?
Coincidence?
There are no coincidences in espionage, Watson. Only patterns not yet deciphered.
We thanked the harbour master and set off toward the fisherman's quarter because the wind grew harsher, flinging spray against the quay. So they imported the sager. Among the narrow lanes and tarred huts, we found old Grier, stooped, leathery, and with eyes that seemed to have stared into every storm.
Aye, I found that dinghy, said he, his voice a gravelly whisper, empty as a drunkard's purse. No name painted, no oars. Just that compass and a goiler rope clean cut with a knife finer than any sailor carries.
Did you notice aught else, Mr. Grier? Any scent, perhaps, or sound that lingered?
Scent, sir, only tar and say, but I did find this.
Drew from his pocket a small scrap of cloth, stiff with sword. Holmes took it with his tweezers, examining the weave.
Silk of foreign manufacture. The pattern. Oh, likely Parisian. My dear Watson, note the faint perfume. Not the sea at all, but jasmine, a lady's fragrance.
A lady, Holmes? Surely you don't mean.
Precisely. Where there is secrecy, there is sentiment, and where sentiment enters, logic must tread delicately.
You think a woman with a board, sir?
I think, Mr. Grier, that a woman was not meant to be known as a bawd.
Holmes pocketed the fragment with care and slipped the fisherman a coin. We returned toward the inn, but before we had gone far, Holmes halted suddenly.
Watson, look there, across the quay.
A man in a long black coat was watching us from the shadow of a warehouse. When Holmes turned his gaze upon him, the figure disappeared down an alley.
We are being followed. Quickly, Watson.
We pursued the stranger through the maze of docks, the echo of our steps mingling with the crash of waves. The man was swift, but Holmes swifter still. At last we cornered him near a stack of barrels.
Now then, sir, Holmes said, his hand upon the man's shoulder, his hand upon the man's shoulder. Perhaps you will enlighten us as to why you find our movements so fascinating.
You are mistaken, monsieur, replied the man in accented English. I was merely walking.
Indeed? Then you have walked most inconveniently in our footsteps since morning. Your boots tell tales, monsieur. The chalk of the harbour office clings to your soul. May I have your name?
John Dubois. I am agent for a shipping company in Calais.
And yet your card case is empty. Your hands bear the stains of printer's ink, and your coat conceals the butt of a revolver. Hardly the attire of a shipping agent. I would guess, rather, that you are employed in a line of work where documents are worth killing for.
Monsieur Holmes, he said, visibly shaken, you know too much.
On the contrary, I know precisely enough. The Argus never reached France because someone wished to intercept her dispatch before it crossed the Channel. You, perhaps, were sent to recover what others lost.
I know nothing of this Argus.
Then you would not object to our little conversation being repeated to Captain Sterling.
Non, monsieur, wait, I will speak. There was a signal, 3 flashes from the western headlight, then the ship vanished into the fog. We thought she turned back, but she did not. There was another vessel, black as pitch, without lights.
A phantom ship, I exclaimed.
Not phantom, Watson planned. Continue, Monsieur Dubois.
I swear, monsieur, that is all I know. The Qatar Étoile du Nord received orders to depart at once. We were told the sea was not safe.
By whom?
By a lady who called herself Madame Vernet.
Madame Vernet, Holmes repeated thoughtfully. Watson, note the name. I fancy it will not be the last time we hear it.
Holmes, I said quietly as the man hurried away. Do you believe him?
Partially. His fear was genuine, his story less so. But we have gained 2 vital clues. The lady and the black vessel both suggest a conspiracy far wider than Dover's shores.
What then is our next step?
To find Madame Vernet, and for that we must look not to the docks but to the passenger ledgers. Come, Watson, the harbour records await.
Within the customs office, we pored over a thick ledger filled with entries of arrivals and departure. Holmes turned the pages swiftly, pausing only when a name caught his eye.
Here, 3 days before the Argus sailed, one Madame Elise Vernet, travelling alone, no nationality stated, cabin reserved on the Étoile du Nord, but marked as not embarked. Curious indeed.
Then she was in Dover, the night of the disappearance.
Exactly. And she had reason to delay her voyage.
Holmes closed the ledger with a snap, his expression sharp with resolve.
Watson, the evening tide brings a steamer from Calais. We shall be on it. I check. If the truth of this matter lies upon the waters of the Channel, then that is where we must go to seek it.
You mean to cross tonight?
Of course. Adventure, my dear Watson, waits for no man. And besides, he turned toward the window, where the mist drifted like ghostly bales across the sea. The game is already afoot.
Thus, as dusk descended upon Dover, we prepared to embark upon the next stage of our perilous pursuit. Somewhere amid the dark waters of the Channel lay the answer to the vanishing of the Argus, and perhaps the shadow of a woman whose name had just entered the annals of our most mysterious cases. The night wind was fierce as our steamer cut across the English Channel, the waters black as coal beneath the faint gleam of a waning moon. I stood upon the deck, my coat drawn tight, watching the restless waves heave and break. Beside me, Sherlock Holmes smoked in silence, his sharp profile lit intermittently by the glow of his pipe. You are unusually quiet tonight, Holmes, said I, after some time. Does the sea inspire reflection or suspicion?
Both, my dear Watson. Reflection upon man's insignificance, suspicion that it is precisely that insignificance which makes him dangerous.
And what of our quarry? Do you truly believe this? Madame Vernet holds the key to the Argus?
She does not merely hold the key, Watson. She is the lock itself. Find the woman, and we shall open the door to the entire affair.
You speak as though she were some criminal enchantress.
Criminals, my dear fellow, are often the most enchanting of mankind, precisely because they compel reason to wrestle with temptation. You shall see for yourself soon enough.
The crossing was rough. Waves struck the hull with thunderous regularity, and many passengers sought shelter below deck. But Holmes remained on deck, wrapped in his long grey overcoat, observing the horizon through his spyglass.
There, said he suddenly, do you perceive that faint light, low to the starboard side?
Faint, barely, yes. What of it?
It burns red, not white, and does not move as a ship's light ought. Likely a signal, perhaps to some vessel lying off the coast. Keep your eye upon it.
The light vanished as swiftly as it had appeared. Holmes gave a soft laugh, as though confirming an inner suspicion.
So, the sea has its listeners tonight. We are not alone in our interest.
When at last we reached Calais near dawn, the harbour was shrouded in mist. A customs officer greeted us with perfunctory courtesy. Holmes, always courteous in return, engaged him in brisk conversation conducted half in French, half in reason.
Monsieur Lefebvre, I believe you oversaw the departure of the Etoile du Nord 2 nights ago?
Oui, monsieur. She sailed before sunrise. Captain Drummond commands her.
And Madame Vernet, did she travel upon her?
Lawn, monsieur. She cancelled her passage at the last moment, paid in full, and left for Paris by the morning train.
Paris, I exclaimed. Then we have lost her trail already.
On the contrary, Watson, we have found its direction.
Within the hour, we were aboard the express train to Paris. Holmes absorbed in a French newspaper while I marveled at his inexhaustible energy. Holmes, said I, you never rest. Does pursuit itself give you vitality?
It is my oxygen, Watson. Others draw breath, I draw deduction.
The French countryside rolled past our windows, the fields blurred by speed and fog. At last we arrived at the Gare du Nord, and Holmes immediately hailed a carriage.
To the Hôtel du Lys, Rue Saint-Honoré, he instructed, and promptly.
You already know her lodgings? I asked, astonished.
Naturally, the lady travels under her own name, though she thinks herself unseen. A brief inquiry at the Calais telegraph office sufficed. The operator confirmed a message sent yesterday. Arrived safely. Await instructions.
To whom?
Ha ha ha. That remains to be discovered.
The Hotel du Lys was a modest but elegant establishment, its facade draped in ivy and its lobby scented faintly of tobacco and roses. Holmes presented himself as an English antiquarian interested in French maritime instruments, a fiction so plausible that the concierge offered him immediate hospitality. "Oui, monsieur, Madame Vernet has indeed taken a suite here, but she seldom receives visitors."
We shall not disturb her, Holmes replied smoothly. Only send this card with my compliments.
On the card he wrote only, "The tide remembers what the shore forgets." I could not help but smile. Holmes, what on earth does that mean?
Merely a phrase, calculated to provoke curiosity. If she is involved, she will understand. If not, it will appear nonsense. Observe, Watson, the best bait for the truth is a mystery.
We had not long to wait. Within half an hour, the concierge returned. Madame Vernet would see the English gentleman at once. The lady received us in a salon of impeccable taste, crimson draperies, a marble fireplace, and an air of subtle opulence. She was tall, exquisitely dressed, her dark eyes luminous yet guarded.
Monsieur Holmes, she said softly, I did not expect your visit so soon. I suppose the Admiralty grows anxious?
The Admiralty is ever anxious, madam, though it rarely knows why. I, however, seek only the truth, an entity with which I am told you are well acquainted.
You flatter me, but I assure you I know nothing of vanished ships or English secrets.
Then you will forgive me if I question that assurance. The Argus disappeared the same night you withdrew your passage on the Etoile du Nord. A coincidence, perhaps? Ack!
Coincidences are the refuge of amateurs, monsieur.
I could not suppress a smile. The lady fenced with Holmes's own blade.
Touché, madame. Yet I must persist. A compass was found, magnetized, its needle fixed. A scrap of silk bearing jasmine scent was recovered from the dinghy. Both, I think, traceable to you.
If every trace of perfume condemned a woman, monsieur, your prisons would overflow.
True, but perfume fades, silk does not. You see, this fragment matches precisely the fabric of your gown, an uncommon weave known as soie du Calais. Shall I continue?
You have made your point, Monsieur Holmes, but deduction alone proves nothing. What is it you truly wish?
Information, madame. Oh, the Argus carried a sealed dispatch between the British and French admiralties. That document has vanished. If it reaches the wrong hands, both nations suffer. Tell me where it lies, and I shall forget that you ever crossed the channel.
And if I refuse?
Then I must assume your cooperation lies elsewhere and act accordingly.
For a long moment, the lady was silent. Then, with a sigh, she drew from her wrist a small locket of silver and laid it upon the table.
Inside this, monsieur, you will find a cipher. Decode it, and you will know where your precious dispatch leads. Beware. The answer may not please you.
Holmes opened the locket carefully. Within lay a tiny slip of parchment covered in intricate symbols, triangles, dots, and bars arranged in no language I recognized.
A diplomatic cipher, he murmured. Modified Polybius square, reversed and mirrored. Remarkable.
Can you read it?
Given an hour, yes. Given coffee in half.
Do not be too proud, Monsieur Holmes. This cipher was not meant to be broken by any man.
Then it is fortunate, madame, that I am not any man.
There was a glimmer of admiration in her eyes, quickly veiled.
You are clever, but not cautious. There are those who would kill for what you now hold. I suggest you leave Paris before the night ends.
A warning? I asked.
A debt repaid. Go while you may.
She turned away, and the audience was over. Outside, Holmes walked briskly through the boulevard, the locket secure in his pocket. Well, Holmes, said I, what think you of our mysterious lady now?
That she is both dangerous and honest. A combination I find irresistible. Yet note her phrasing, where your precious dispatch sleeps, not lies. The difference, Watson, is subtle but vital. A thing that sleeps may yet awaken.
Meaning, the dispatch is not lost at sea?
Exactly. It is hidden, likely within the vessel itself. The Argus was not sunk, it was concealed.
Concealed, but how?
By deceit, illusion, and perfect timing. I now suspect the Argus changed her appearance, perhaps by disguise of paint or alteration of sails, and continues to sail under another name. The cipher will confirm it.
Kabiwash, we returned to our lodgings, where Holmes spread the cipher upon the table. Kari awares he worked without pause, transcribing, muttering, and striking matches to light one cigarette after another. At last, as the dawn began to creep over the rooftops, he looked up with triumph in his eyes.
Watson, the code is solved. The dispatch is hidden aboard a vessel now moored in the Havre under the name La Sirène Noire.
The Black Siren.
A fitting title for so dark a game. Come, Watson, our work upon the continent is not yet done. By the next tide, we sail again.
And so began the most perilous phase of our adventure, for Holmes had drawn aside but one veil from the mystery of the Argus. Yet behind that veil, we both sensed, lurked, the shadow of conspiracy deeper than either of us had ever faced before. Coakley, the morning that carried us to Le Havre was one of cold brilliance, the kind of day when every shadow seemed sharper and every reflection on the water glittered with secret meaning. Holmes, as ever, was tireless. Though we had not slept more than an hour, he spoke with the animation of a man newly born. You astonish me, Holmes, I said, as the train steamed through the fields of Normandy. Most men, after a sleepless night, deciphering ciphers, would crave rest, not travel.
Rest, Watson, is the consolation of certainty. Until I hold the truth in my hand, I cannot sleep. The cipher points to Le Havre, to a vessel named La Sirène Noire. If my deductions are correct, that ship is the Argus reborn.
Repainted and renamed?
Precisely. A change of name upon the prow, a coat of tar, and a flag of convenience. Such devices can make ghosts of ships as easily as men. The question is, who commands this phantom now?
The port of Le Havre was alive with noise and motion, cranes clanking, sailors cursing, gulls screaming overhead. Holmes moved through the crowd like a hound upon scent, his eyes darting, noting every crate, every flag, every signboard.
There she lies, he whispered, pointing through the forest of masts. The third vessel from the quay, the black-hulled brigantine with the crimson stripe. Observe the peculiar curvature of her bowsprit, Watson. That timber was English cut, not French. It confirms my theory.
And sang the Argus under a new mask.
Indeed. Let us proceed with caution. We are upon the stage of dangerous men.
We approached the shipyard office where a French clerk sat scribbling in a ledger. Holmes, adopting his most unassuming tone, addressed him in fluent French.
Good day, monsieur. My companion and I are from Lloyd's of London, verifying certain insurance records. This vessel, La Sirène Noire, I believe she arrived 2 days ago.
Oui, monsieur, arrived from Dieppe, I think. But there is something irregular. Her papers are incomplete.
Irregularities, my dear Watson, are the footprints of crime, he murmured. Then, aloud, would it be possible to speak with her captain?
He is ashore, monsieur, staying at the Hotel du Phare. Name of Harland.
Harland, I exclaimed. The same who commanded the Argos. Then it is she beyond doubt.
Steady, Watson. Enthusiasm is the enemy of strategy. We must not alarm him prematurely. Let us visit this Hotel du Phare, but as travellers in search of rooms.
The inn stood overlooking the harbour, its sign creaking gently in the wind. Inside, the air smelled of tobacco and salt. Holmes approached the innkeeper with the casual air of a man seeking conversation, not inquiry.
Yes, messieurs, said the proprietor. Captain Harland is here. A quiet man, keeps to himself, often walks the docks at night.
Might we chance to meet him this evening?
If you stay for supper, perhaps. He takes his meal at the corner table by the window.
We did as advised. At dusk, Captain Harland entered, a gaunt, sun-browned man whose face bore the weariness of long voyages. He glanced at us once, briefly, then poured himself a glass of wine.
Holmes leaned toward me, speaking in the lowest tone. Observe, Watson, the right sleeve of his coat bears a faint tear at the cuff. It matches the thread of that rope we found severed in the dinghy. The man was aboard the night. The Argus vanished.
Then he knows the truth?
He is the truth. The rest is but its shadow.
Holmes rose, approached the captain's table, and bowed slightly.
Captain Harland, I believe. Forgive the intrusion, but I had the honor of traveling aboard your vessel once, though under another name.
Another name? The man's voice was cautious, yet tinged with alarm. Who are you, sir?
Sherlock Holmes of Baker Street.
Good God, I should have known England would send her bloodhound. But you are too late, Mr. Holmes. The game is done.
On the contrary, Captain, the game has only just begun. The Argus, or shall we call her La Sirène Noire, was never lost, merely reborn. Where is the dispatch she carried?
Safe.
For whom?
For neither king nor country, but for peace. You cannot understand.
Try as captain, I said gently. You have the look of an honest man burdened by a terrible secret.
Very well. The dispatch contained proposals for joint naval operations against a third power, not yet our enemy. I saw in it the seed of war. Madame Vernet approached me. Yes, she is real, and offered a way to keep the document from both governments until calmer minds prevailed. I agreed. We faked the ship's loss, repainted her, and hid the papers in her false keel. They remain there still.
You acted without sanction, sir.
I acted for conscience. Do you think I wished to see England and France driven to mistrust each other once more? No. I risked my life to prevent it.
A noble sentiment, Captain, but misplaced. Oh, truth cannot be hidden behind deception. It breeds only more lies. Already, agents pursue you for that very act. You are in grave peril.
I know. They follow me even now. There are men who will stop at nothing to claim that dispatch.
Then let us recover it and return it to safety before blood is shed.
It may be too late.
Nonsense. Nothing is too late when reason still draws breath. You will take us aboard tonight.
Tonight? The tide turns near midnight. Very well, Mr. Holmes. But once you see what lies within that keel, you may wish it had remained lost.
That night, under a moon shrouded by cloud, we followed Harland to the pier. The black siren lay silent, her reflection rippling in the dark water. A single lantern glowed faintly near her stern.
Watson, Holmes murmured. Observe the harbour. 3 figures by the warehouse, watching. Dubois and his confederates, no doubt. Keep your revolver close.
We boarded by a narrow gangplank, our footsteps muffled. Combine. The deck was deserted, the ropes creaking softly. Harland led us to a hatch below.
Here, said he, producing a small crowbar. This panel conceals the false keel. Help me lift it.
Together we pried loose the boards, revealing a hollow space lined with oilskin. Within lay a small metal cylinder, sealed with wax and marked with the Admiralty's crest. The dispatch, I cried.
Yes, indeed. Now, Captain, we must. Artem must.
He stopped abruptly, listening. From above came the faint scrape of boots upon deck.
They are here, Holmes whispered. Watson, extinguish the lamp.
Compla. Darkness enveloped us. Then a shout, French voices, angry, hurried. Shots rang out, splinters flew. Holmes seized my arm.
Up, Watson, quickly.
We burst onto the deck to find Dubois and two others clambering aboard. Moonlight flashed upon steel. Holmes moved like lightning, striking one man's wrist, sending his pistol clattering overboard.
Give me the dispatch, Holmes. You do not know what power you meddle with.
On the contrary, I know precisely that of greed and fear, the twin tyrants of nations.
I fired a warning shot into the air. The men hesitated. Holmes seized the moment, thrusting the cylinder into my coat.
Watson, into the boat, go!
And leave you never.
Moho, obey me. Moho.
Reluctantly, I leapt into the dinghy. Holmes fought like a lion, using his cane as both sword and shield. Harland swung a rope, striking one assailant squarely. A final shot split the air and then silence, save for the lapping of the tide. Holmes, I shouted, where are you?
Here, Watson, came his calm reply from the shadows. Merely winded. Our friends have taken an unexpected swim. Let us depart before they reconsider.
We rode from the pier just as harbour lights began to flare. Behind us, the black siren loomed like a specter, her fate uncertain. Holmes sat silent, the cylinder clasped between his hands. You have it safe? I asked.
Safe for now. But its safety is an illusion, as is all secrecy. Once we reach London, this must go to Captain Stirling himself. Only then can the waves of deception be stilled.
And Madame Vernet?
A woman who sought to prevent war through deceit. Her motives may be pure, yet her methods are perilous. I pity her, but justice must weigh without passion.
The eastern sky began to pale with the first breath of dawn. Holmes, weary but unbroken, turned his gaze toward the horizon.
Watson, said he quietly, do you know what I find most fascinating about the sea?
Pray enlighten me.
It hides everything, and yet, in time, gives everything back.
Those words lingered in my mind long after we reached the English shore. For though the case seemed near its end, I could not rid myself of the sense that the Channel had not yet spoken its final secret. The steamer from Le Havre reached London beneath a sky of grey melancholy. The Thames lay black and oily beneath the morning fog, as if the river itself were burdened by the secrets we carried. Holmes, pale and unspeaking, kept the metal cylinder close to his breast throughout the passage, his sharp gaze fixed upon the waters as though reading some invisible cipher written upon the current. You are not spoken for hours, Holmes, I said, attempting to pierce the silence. Does the case still trouble you, now that we hold the dispatch?
Trouble me, Watson. It defines me. Possession of truth is never the end. It is merely the prelude to understanding its consequence. I am troubled not by the cipher's content, but by its design. Someone wished for this document to be found by me.
What? You suspect a trap?
Not a trap, my dear fellow, an orchestration. We were led through France, driven across the Channel, entangled with spies, all so that we might return this cylinder to England. It was never meant to disappear. It was meant to return in our hands.
Holmes, that sounds fantastical, even for you.
Does it? Reflect, Watson. Dubois allowed us to escape when he could have shot us. Madame Vernet's directions were too precise to be accidental. And now we arrive, just as Parliament convenes on matters of naval expansion. The timing is too precise to ignore. No, Watson, our entire pursuit was a stage play, and we its unknowing actors.
His words struck me cold. Even after years by his side, I had never ceased to marvel at the depths his mind could plumb. Yet this time, a shadow crossed even his keen intellect, one of moral unease. And what will you do, Holmes, if you find that this was but manipulation?
Expose it, of course. Truth may be twisted, but it can never be utterly broken.
We reached Baker Street as London's bell struck 8. Mrs. Hudson greeted us with her usual blend of relief and reproach.
Mercy on us, Mr. Holmes. You look as though you've not slept since the last century. And Dr. Watson, did you both tumble into the Thames?
Nearly, Mrs. Hudson. Kindly refrain from dusting the study. We expect company of the highest confidentiality within the hour.
Company? I asked.
Captain Sterling of the Admiralty. He will come to reclaim this cylinder, though I suspect he does not yet know why.
True to prediction, a knock came scarcely an hour later. The captain entered, grave and deliberate, his uniform immaculate despite the early hour.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, you have done England a great service. The Admiralty is in your debt.
Debts, Captain, are best paid in honesty. Tell me, did you ever truly lose the Argus?
I beg your pardon.
The supposed wreck, the vanished crew, the stolen dispatch. It was all part of a plan, was it not? A subterfuge to mislead foreign intelligence while testing internal security?
His jaw tightened. Mr. Holmes, you tread upon classified ground.
So I do. But the ground is unstable, and I would rather see it leveled than watch it crumble beneath the weight of deceit. You used Captain Harland as bait. The dispatch was false, its cipher meaningless, save as a lure for spies.
You mean the dispatch contains no true orders?
None whatsoever. It was a phantom, a test of loyalty. And now, by returning it, we have proven the effectiveness of the ruse to those who designed it. The circle is complete.
I am not at liberty to confirm nor deny, Mr. Holmes.
You need not. Your silence is eloquence itself.
The captain regarded him long and sternly, then extended his hand.
Whatever your conclusions, Mr. Holmes, you have rendered a service beyond price. The Admiralty will remember.
Pray they remember, Captain, that those who play with shadows may one day be lost in them.
When he had gone, Holmes turned to the window and stood motionless for several minutes. The winter fog pressed thickly against the glass, muting the city beyond. You are displeased, Holmes?
Displeased? No, merely confirmed in my suspicion that power often hides behind patriotism. Harland was a pawn, Madame Vernet perhaps an unwitting accomplice, Dubois a hired hound, and we, England's most efficient messengers. It was all most elegant.
But surely the end justifies the means, if war was averted?
Ends, my dear Watson, are but excuses tailored to fit the conscience. Truth, however, is indivisible. It cannot be used without being changed.
His tone was grave beyond measure. Never before had I seen the great detective so burdened by moral doubt. To distract him, I suggested we review the cipher once more. Perhaps, I ventured, there is something yet unseen within its symbols, a clue beyond politics.
An excellent suggestion. He unsealed the cylinder and drew forth a single sheet of parchment cover, odd, in intricate marks. For a long time he studied it, head bowed, fingers steepled. Then suddenly he laughed softly. Remarkable. Even in deceit, the truth cannot resist leaving its signature.
What have you found?
Observe, Watson. Between these false ciphers, tiny pinpricks, almost invisible. The hand that copied this document used a template, but the spacing corresponds to a familiar code, the maritime semaphore. Translated, it spells a single phrase for England and France alike. See that?
Then Madame Vernet left a mark upon the forgery.
Indeed. She understood the deception, but sought to remind those who found it that peace is not the property of one flag. Admirable and profoundly human.
Will you reveal this to Sterling?
No, some truths are too delicate for bureaucratic digestion. Let the cipher remain as it stands, a riddle within a riddle. But we shall know, Watson. That will suffice.
Days passed, and the matter faded from public notice. The newspaper spoke of an Admiralty success, but none mentioned our names. Holmes resumed his violin, and I my rounds, yet something of the channel lingered between us, a silence shaped like a question never asked. One evening, as the firelight danced upon his lean features, I found courage to speak it. Holmes, after all this, what lesson do you draw?
Lesson, Watson? Merely that men may paint their motives in patriotic colors, but the sea will wash them clean all the same. The tide, my friend, is the great leveller. Peace, it reveals the bones of truth when all artifice is spent.
And Madame Vernet?
I received a note this morning, no name, no address, merely a sprig of lavender and the words, Merci, Monsieur le Détective. She has escaped, I think, beyond the reach of nations. Let her remain so.
I nodded, for there was poetry in that ending. Holmes turned his gaze once more toward the window, where London's mist swirled like pale smoke from an unseen fire.
You see, Watson, he murmured, the English Channel divides nations, but it also connects them. It is both barrier and bridge. Just so with truth, it may separate men for a time, but in the end it unites them.
You speak almost like a philosopher, Holmes. That,
A detective, my dear Watson, is only a philosopher who refuses to guess.
and with that, he drew his bow across the strings, sending forth a melody so haunting that I could almost hear the tide within it. The whisper of waves, the creak of ropes, the sigh of distant shores, the music rose and fell like a confession to the night, and I felt, not for the first time, that I stood in the presence of a man both greater and lonelier than the world would ever know. Thus ended the adventure of the English Channel, a tale of falsehood that concealed sincerity, of secrecy that sheltered peace, and of one man's relentless pursuit of reason amidst the tempests of human folly. For Holmes, as ever, it was elementary. For me, it was unforgettable.